Most people believe danger wears a mask. They imagine it arrives with flashing lights, raised voices, or obvious threats. The truth is far more unsettling. Sometimes danger smiles. Sometimes it bows before stepping onto a spotless training mat. Sometimes it wears a black belt that everyone has been taught to respect, without question, across America. Thousands of men and women walk into martial arts academies every single day searching for confidence, discipline, and a community that promises to make them stronger. Parents trust these gyms with their children. College students come to learn self-defense. Military veterans train to stay sharp. Police officers sharpen their defensive tactics. Working professionals look for an escape from stressful lives. Every academy hangs the same words on its walls: honor, respect, integrity, humility. But words painted on a wall mean nothing when nobody has the courage to defend them. The most dangerous bully is rarely the loudest person in the room. He is the one protected by reputation, the one who knows everyone will excuse his behavior because of the belt tied around his waist, the one who mistakes fear for respect and calls intimidation training. In places where rank becomes more important than character, silence becomes the bully's greatest weapon. That silence can survive for years. Students convince themselves they imagined what they saw. Instructors tell themselves it was simply hard coaching. Teammates look away because speaking up could make them the next target. Little by little, the line between discipline and abuse disappears until nobody remembers where it was supposed to be. Iron Legacy Jiu-Jitsu Academy stood on a busy street outside Austin, Texas, its glass entrance reflecting the evening traffic as families drove home from work. Inside, the atmosphere looked exactly like the kind of place people trusted. Championship medals decorated the walls. American flags hung proudly beside framed tournament photographs. Motivational quotes reminded students that true strength came from humility. Children laughed in one corner, while beginners stretched before class. Everything appeared safe. Everything appeared professional. Appearances can be dangerously convincing. Across the United States, countless law enforcement officers dedicate their lives to protecting strangers they may never meet again. Every shift demands discipline, restraint, and accountability. Under pressure, they understand that real authority is measured not by how much power someone possesses, but by how responsibly that power is used. The same principle should exist anywhere people place their trust in another person's hands, including a martial arts gym. The same lesson had shaped countless women who refused to let fear define their lives. Among them were Black women who had overcome barriers with resilience, courage, and determination, proving every day that true strength has never depended on size, titles, or public recognition. Their stories had inspired communities across America by demonstrating that dignity is not something another person grants. It is something no bully has the right to take away, yet bullies rarely recognize quiet strength. They search for hesitation, they search for uncertainty, they search for people who appear harmless because they mistake kindness for weakness. History has shown time and again that those assumptions often become their greatest mistake. On this particular evening, the fluorescent lights reflected across freshly cleaned mats, while the scent of disinfectant mixed with worn canvas and athletic tape. Gloves rested neatly against the wall. Training partners laughed between warm-up drills. The atmosphere carried the familiar rhythm of another ordinary class beginning. Ordinary moments have a way of hiding extraordinary consequences. No flashing warning signs appeared above the entrance. No alarm sounded through the building. Nothing suggested that before the night was over, long-held reputations would collapse, uncomfortable truths would be exposed, and every person inside the academy would witness a lesson far more valuable than any technique ever taught on those mats. Because one respected black belt was about to mistake quiet confidence for weakness. And one woman was about to remind everyone that real strength is never measured by the color of a belt, but by the character of the person wearing it. Emily Carter parked her pickup truck across the street from Iron Legacy Jiu-Jitsu Academy and sat quietly behind the steering wheel for a few moments before stepping out. The Texas evening was warm, and the fading sunlight reflected across the storefront windows. To anyone walking past, she looked like another working professional stopping by after a long day. There was nothing flashy about her appearance. No expensive athletic gear, no military decals on her truck, no medals hanging from her gym bag. She had spent years learning that the strongest people rarely needed strangers to know who they were. She zipped her plain black duffel bag, locked the truck, and crossed the parking lot with calm, measured steps. Inside the academy, students were already warming up, the sound of bare feet sliding across the mats, mixed with quiet conversations and occasional laughter. Parents watched from a seating area while younger students finished their children's class. Framed tournament photographs covered one wall, beside an American flag, and several motivational quotes about respect, discipline, and perseverance. Emily paused for a second to read one of them. Character is revealed when nobody is watching. A small smile crossed her face. She hoped the words meant something here. The young woman working behind the front desk greeted her warmly. First class. Emily nodded. Yes, ma'am. Welcome to Iron Legacy. Just fill out this waiver, and Coach Greg will get you paired with someone. Emily thanked her politely, completed the paperwork, and placed the clipboard back on the counter. She never mentioned where she had trained before. She never mentioned the years she had spent serving her country. She never mentioned the countless hours of advanced combat training that had become second nature. She wanted none of it to matter. For the first time in a long time, she simply wanted to be another student, learning alongside everyone else. Across America, thousands of veterans return home carrying experiences they never discuss publicly. Many seek ordinary routines to reconnect with civilian life. Some volunteer in their communities. Others become teachers, firefighters, nurses, or police officers dedicated to protecting neighborhoods instead of battlefields. Many choose quiet places like martial arts gyms because they miss the discipline without wanting the attention. Emily understood those people better than most. She respected anyone willing to work hard, regardless of their background. As students continued arriving, she noticed several familiar faces, often found in communities across the country. A middle school teacher chatting with an engineer, a firefighter stretching beside an accountant, a college student practicing hip escapes. Two local police officers laughing while wrapping athletic tape around their fingers. Before class, one officer noticed Emily standing alone first night. She smiled politely. Yeah, you'll like it here, he said. Most people are good folks. Emily appreciated the kindness. Law enforcement officers often saw people on their worst days. Yet many still chose patience over judgment. She had worked alongside officers during emergency operations, who placed themselves between innocent families in danger without expecting recognition afterward. The badge represented responsibility, not superiority. Real professionals, whether wearing a military uniform or a police badge, understood that power carried accountability. That lesson had been drilled into Emily for years. Never abuse authority. Protect those who cannot protect themselves. Leave your ego outside. Those principles mattered far more than physical strength. While she organized her belt, several students glanced toward her before returning to their conversations. She blended into the room exactly as she intended. No one knew she had spent years surviving under pressure. Most people could scarcely imagine. No one knew she had learned to remain calm when everything around her descended into chaos. No one knew she had quietly accumulated more real-world experience than anyone inside the academy suspected that anonymity felt peaceful. Meanwhile, another pair of eyes had been studying her from across the mat. Ryan Mercer leaned against the padded wall with his arms folded across his chest. His black belt hung confidently around his waist, its faded edges displaying years of training and competition. To newcomers he looked impressive. Tall, powerfully built. Confident, experienced. Many students admired him before ever speaking to him. Unfortunately, admiration had slowly transformed into arrogance. Ryan enjoyed being the strongest person in the room. He enjoyed reminding beginners how inexperienced they were. Whenever someone questioned his methods, he dismissed criticism with the same tired explanation. Pressure builds champions. Several longtime members exchanged uncomfortable looks whenever Ryan volunteered to spar with smaller students. Nobody openly challenged him. Some believed he simply trained harder than everyone else. Others quietly recognized the truth, but chose silence over confrontation. Silence had protected his behavior for years. Emily remained completely unaware that she had already become the center of Ryan's attention. He watched her tie her white belt carefully. He noticed the absence of expensive equipment. He noticed her calm posture. Most importantly, he noticed that she looked completely ordinary. Ryan smirked. New students always boosted his confidence. He convinced himself that dominating beginners proved how skilled he had become. What he failed to understand was one of the oldest lessons shared by experienced police officers, military professionals, and seasoned investigators across America. The most dangerous person in the room is often the one nobody notices. While Ryan saw an easy opportunity to impress everyone watching, Emily saw nothing more than another evening dedicated to learning, discipline, and mutual respect. Their reasons for standing on those mats could not have been more different. One trained to feed his ego, the other trained because discipline had become part of who she was. Coach Greg clapped his hands, and the conversations around the academy faded almost instantly. "Everyone find a partner," he called out. 6-minute rounds focus on techniques. Control over power students spread across the mats, bumping fists and exchanging friendly smiles. The atmosphere looked exactly the way a martial arts academy was supposed to feel: welcoming, disciplined, and built on mutual respect. Emily quietly adjusted the knot of her white belt. She wasn't looking for attention. She simply waited for an available partner. Before anyone else could step forward, Ryan Mercer walked directly toward her. His confident stride drew the attention of several longtime members. One purple belt quietly glanced at another student. "You think he's really going with the new girl?" The other student sighed. "I hope he keeps it under control this time." Ryan stopped only a few feet away. "You ready?" he asked with a grin that carried more confidence than kindness. Emily returned a polite smile. "I'm here to learn, so am I?" Ryan replied. The words sounded friendly. His expression didn't. They bumped fists. The timer sounded for the first few seconds. Emily stayed relaxed, studying Ryan's movement instead of forcing an attack. Years of discipline training had taught her something many people never learned. The first move often revealed far more than the second. Ryan immediately pushed the pace. Instead of testing distance or exchanging technical grips, he drove forward with unnecessary force, trying to overwhelm her through pressure alone. Emily stayed balanced. She defended calmly without showing frustration. Around the room, several students noticed something unusual. The new student wasn't panicking. She wasn't freezing. She wasn't reacting emotionally. She was simply observing. Ryan interpreted her composure as fear. He smirked. "You've got to move faster than that." Emily answered quietly, "I'm moving exactly as fast as I need to." The response caught him off guard. Most beginners apologized. Most beginners became nervous. She didn't. Ryan increased the pressure again. The exchange remained within the boundaries of training, but his competitive ego became increasingly obvious. Rather than demonstrating technique, he seemed determined to prove a point. Coach Greg watched from across the room. His expression slowly changed. He had seen talented athletes allow pride to cloud their judgment. Before the best instructors understood that skill without humility eventually became a liability. Nearby, 2 local police officers training after their shift exchanged quick glances. One of them folded his arms. "He's pushing too hard," he quietly observed. His partner nodded. A good instructor protects the newer students. Neither officer raised his voice. They simply continued watching, ready to step in if necessary. Emily continued defending with remarkable patience. She never looked angry. She never tried to embarrass Ryan. She simply refused to lose control of herself. That quiet discipline frustrated him even more. People who rely on intimidation often become uncomfortable. When they discover it no longer works, Ryan attempted another aggressive sequence. Emily calmly created space, reset her position, and looked directly at him. "You don't have to prove anything," she said. Several students nearby heard the sentence. It wasn't disrespectful, it wasn't sarcastic. It sounded genuine for a brief moment. The room became noticeably quieter. Ryan laughed. "I've been doing this a long time." Emily nodded respectfully. "I can see you've spent years training." He expected an argument instead. She offered respect. That only made his growing frustration more obvious. Coach Greg stepped closer. "Easy." He reminded both students. "Remember why we're here?" Emily nodded immediately. Ryan gave a quick wave without taking his eyes off her. "I've got it," but everyone watching could see the difference. One person was trying to learn, the other was trying to win. There is a difference. Real martial arts were never created to feed someone's ego. They were created to build character, discipline, patience, and responsibility. The same values guide outstanding police officers, who protect their communities with professionalism. Instead of intimidation, the same values can be found in countless black women across America, who have led families, strengthened neighborhoods, and overcome extraordinary challenges with resilience and dignity. Proving that true strength begins with character rather than appearances, those lessons cannot be tied around a waist like a belt. They must be lived as the round continued. More students quietly stopped focusing on their own training. Without realizing it, the entire academy had become invested in what was unfolding before them. Nobody was cheering, nobody wanted conflict. They simply wanted to see respect restored, where pride had begun taking over. Sometimes the biggest lesson inside a gym isn't about who is stronger. It's about who has the discipline to choose humility when pride demands otherwise. And sometimes one ordinary evening becomes the moment everyone remembers for years because it reminds them that real strength is measured by integrity, not intimidation. If this story made you think about the true meaning of respect, discipline and accountability, share your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe character matters more than rank? And what story would you like to see next? Your ideas could inspire the next chapter.